Let's rewind to December 3rd, 2003, ECOWAS Center, Abuja. Nigeria was preparing for a critical presidential election. The nation was battling economic uncertainty, insecurity, corruption, and a young democracy still trying to find its feet. On this stage, two presidential hopefuls stepped up with bold vision for a better Nigeria. On one side, Senator Ike Nwachukwu, a retired Major General, former Foreign Affairs Minister, and seasoned statesman. His message, stability, strong leadership, and restoring national security. He believed Nigeria needed discipline, structure, and global credibility. On the other side, Dr. Olatunji Braithwaite, lawyer, activist, founder of the Nigeria Advance Party, and one of the loudest anti-corruption voices of his time. His mission, dismantle oppression, empower the poor, and reshape the system from the ground up. He didn't just want reform, he wanted transformation. Two brilliant minds, two very different approaches. One focused on order and experience, the other on justice and radical change. And they met on one stage to debate the future of Nigeria. In this throwback, we revisit that clash of ideas, the policies they promised, and how their visions compared to the reality of the nation at the time, and even today. This was more than a debate. It was a mirror of Nigeria's hopes and its struggles. Let's dive in.
To talk to Nigerians and address national issues. This session is the fourth in the series. We started earlier today and we have had 3 sessions already. And for the fourth session, we will be having the presidential candidates of the National Democratic Party, NDP, and the Nigeria Advance Party, NAP. The presidential candidate for the National Democratic Party, NDP, is Senator Ike Nwachukwu, while the Nigeria Advance Party has Dr. Olatunji Braithwaite as the presidential candidate. For a start, let us appraise you with the rules, the basic rules for this debate. There shall be a moderator acceptable to all stakeholders. There shall be 2 panelists, and I have 2 panelists here with me. Questions and subject areas shall be determined by the chairman of the steering committee alone. No one debate can cover all the nation's problems. Each session of the debate series shall be for 90 minutes. There shall be a timer for control of timing, and we'll have a timer here. The order of speaking, that is, who speaks first and who speaks last, shall be determined by a toss of the coin. Opening statements by candidates shall be for only 3 minutes per person. Closing remarks by each candidate shall be for 2 minutes only. The panelists shall not exceed 45 seconds in asking a question. An answer by the candidate shall be for 3 minutes only. Response by the other candidate shall be for 1 minute only. Candidates are not allowed to ask questions direct from each other. The moderator may permit more time for a particular subject, but each candidate has 2 minutes only to explain and to respond. Only the moderator has this discretionary power. Candidates must focus only on issues and be positive. There shall be no personal attack or negative attack on any person or on each other. Language shall be presidential, dignified, and that which enhances the good image of the office of President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Candidates may choose to sit down or stand throughout the duration of the debate. And candidates shall exhibit comradeship, friendship, love, patriotism, and be truly happy to see each other. These are the basic rules of this debate as outlined by the Presidential Debate Steering Committee, where I'm told that the candidate of the NDP, the National Democratic Party, Senator Nwachukwu, won the toss of the coin, and by implication, we will be starting our questioning with him. But first, let me introduce members of this panel. From my right.
My name is Kabiru Yusuf. I'm the editor-in-chief of daily and weekly trust newspapers. Thank you.
And I am Reginald Okochi of Radio Nigeria.
And our timekeeper for this debate is Edegbo Obiakeme. So let us start by knowing from our presidential candidates, Senator Nwachukwu, why do you want to be the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria?
I want to thank you immensely for this opportunity to speak to our people, what we have as the NDP and what I have as a presidential candidate of my party. Why do I want to be president? We have a country since 1999 in which everything seems to be going down the drain. The economy is in the doldrums. The security is worse than it was in 1999. The quality of education is getting worse by the day. The teachers are not paid salaries on time. The staff of the ministries are old. Pensioners are dying by the day, waiting to collect their pensions. Children can't go to school. There are no jobs for 10 millions of our kids. The women are not empowered. The youth are not given what they should get to build a good and strong country. We have our industry running at very, very minimal rate. Today, we have a situation in our country in which there's despair, absolute despair, to the point that Nigerians are beginning to lose faith in this country. You recall that the mottos of our country are unity, faith, peace, and progress. The very word faith is not there anymore. And knowing fully well that we needed to begin to change this if this country must survive, I decided to run. And besides running, what made me feel I should run? Because I've looked around the scenario, looked around the country, and I found that those who are in leadership position in our country have let this country down. And some of them really are those who came straight from not in the legislature, haven't had any experience whatsoever about how laws are made, to becoming heads of government and heads of state. I am a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I am a general of the Army retired. I was a journalist in this country. I've been governor of a state. I've been Minister of Employment, Labor, and Productivity, in which time I set up the NDE to give job and employment to young Nigerians who were pulled from the level of being jobless to being entrepreneurs. And I've always also been Nigeria's foreign minister, 3 times over. I am the one known to be the architect of economic diplomacy. And we've used that to begin to rein in investment for our country. Today, we have a totally different scenario. Our country is in dire straits, and we need men of honor, men who are accountable, men who have the experience, men who have been through the grails of making laws to come out to run for the office of president. And therefore, I'm running for the office of president of our country, hoping that Nigeria will support me as I do so.
Thank you very much, Senator Nwachukwu of the NDP. Dr. Olatunji Braithwaite, presidential candidate of the Nigerian Advanced Party. Why do you want to be president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria?
Thank you very much, gentlemen and members of the, of the panel. For me, it's not a question of why do I want to be president of this country. I have wanted to be the president of this country since 1979. That date is significant in the history of this country, because that was when the military adventurers, the coup makers, decided that they would hand over power, that they would allow democracy to thrive in this country. But unfortunately, it was a deceit. It was a deceit even at that time. They did not intend to allow democracy to flourish. They did not even intend Nigerians to taste democracy, which they halted in 1966. But in 1979, I was much younger, obviously, then. We thought that those who had halted the progress of this country were sincere. But as I said, they were not. They started first and foremost by introducing procedure for according official recognition to those who want to exercise their democratic rights, by instituting all manner of regulations and laws, draconian laws, to shut out, I repeat, to shut out vibrant, enlightened forces. They said at the time, they had the effrontery to announce publicly to the whole world that they might not know those who would succeed them, but they certainly knew those who would not succeed them. They were supposed to be practicing democracy. We set out first at that time under the same party, the Nigeria Advance Party, which was a party formed to reconstruct the damaged economy. But true to time, they refused to accord official recognition to those they perceived as progressive. So they stopped us. They did not give us the permission. They did not allow us. We continued. In 1982, the Nigeria Advance Party got registered under the first civilian government since 1966. So when I said that it is, for me, it is not a question of today. It has been the same battle that I started to fight in order to let Nigerians enjoy democracy that is still ongoing.
Thank you very much, Dr. Olatunji Braithwaite of NAP. Well, we'll move on now to the debate proper. We have just been given the questions for this debate, and may I remind the candidates of the time limit for each question. 3 minutes for the first question, and 1 minute for the other candidate to respond. So we're moving on to the debate proper, and for the fourth session, question 1 is coming from Kabiru Yusuf.
The first question I would like to ask Senator Nwachukwu is on his economic blueprint. Everybody talks about how bad the Nigerian economy is. What specific ideas do you have that will turn around this economy?
My party and I decided that we will have as the major thrust of our policy agriculture first. And for agriculture, we would invest 20% of our GDP in agriculture sustained throughout the tenure of our office. And we will begin to retrain our kids, bring in fertilizers, help land clearing, ensure that at any given time, the 70% of the Nigeria's workforce, which are found in agriculture, are kept busy. So we can turn around the economy from having a 40% of a GDP coming from agriculture to 70% as we go on. Then, of course, there's a need to look at the interest rate. The interest rate is so high in our country that There's no how anybody who intends to be an entrepreneur would survive the level of interest rate. Well, we'll do something about it drastically. Then, of course, the question of creating jobs. And as I say this, I'm saying that we need to invest in the manufacturing industry. Today, they are in the doldrums, as you know. They're producing very, very little to begin to earn us any foreign exchange. Unless you produce and export, your economy and your foreign exchange or the exchange rate will come to naught. So we will do something for export promotion and export production in our time. Then, of course, the question of having funds. Virtually every industry you talk to in this country is dying for not having funds. We will create a fund, a mega fund, which would be an industrial development fund for real. And that fund will be strong enough and big enough to support every facet of our industry in this country. So we'll manufacture, we would go into agriculture for real and invest in it, we'll produce food to feed our people, we'll create jobs, and therefore have a Nigeria that can beat our chest and say, yes, truly we are Nigerians, we can feed ourselves, we can stand up for what we believe in, we are into agro-science, we will teach it in our universities, in our polytechnics, we will return dignity to farming, to agriculture, and we'll have a country that would say in truth that this is Nigeria, that country that the black world look up to, that country that we Nigerians should be proud of, that country that Nigerians must have faith in. So let me anchor it in agriculture. It will be agriculture first. We'll invest 20% of our GDP in it. We'll also ensure that the manufacturing industries are funded and at a reduced interest rate.
Braithwaite, your opportunity to respond to that question on the economy.
To respond? Well, the senator has said that he would anchor his economic policies on agriculture. I think it is generally known that Nigeria is an agricultural country, predominantly inhabited by peasants. So there is nothing really new in that. Now, what we have been saying all along is to ask those who have been in successive governments, what is their economic philosophy? Are they operating a free enterprise type of economy? Are they operating welfarist economy? And up till now, no one has been able to say what type of economic philosophy or ideology do they have. Because without an ideology, you cannot move anywhere.
Thank you very much. Our next question is for Dr. Olatunji Braithwaite.
Yes, Dr. Braithwaite, what are your views on calls to amend the 1999 Constitution to provide for 6 prime ministers with a single tenure for the president and governors?
I didn't quite hear you about 6 prime ministers. Did you say something about 6 prime ministers?
Yes, 6 prime ministers with a single tenure for the president and the governors.
What are my views on that? I'm hearing that for the first time. Are you saying that this is being canvassed?
Yes.
Obviously, although our own political and economic policy would devolve powers, political and economic powers, to the 6 geopolitical zones that we have now. But if in that context we would have premiers in each zone, yes, I would support it.
All right. Senator Nwachukwu.
First, I want to retort to something said. Something new about what I talked about agriculture is that this government that I would run, by your grace, will invest 20% of our GDP in agriculture. And I intend to now talk about
the question he asked about the agitation or the cause for 6 prime ministers and a single term for presidents and governors.
Right, of course. I mean, 1919 Constitution, we all know, has a lot of faults in it. And the National Assembly, indeed, the entire country, has been trying to sort that out in the past 2 years. I believe in 1 term for any president and for any governor, 1 5-year term. That's the popular feeling of Nigerians. Second is that I also believe that we need true federalism. If we had a true federalism, all the problems we have in this country would have come to naught. Our founding fathers embarked on true federalism, allowed a situation where every region at the time was to develop at our own rate, and they were supported. So with true federalism and 1 tenure for our president, with the people of Nigeria asking every government to be accountable for what they do, then of course we'll have a polity that's stable, a polity that is accountable, and a polity that our country will be proud of.
Senator Nwachukwu, this question, let me explain again that when we ask a candidate's question, when the question goes to the first candidate, he has 3 minutes to respond to that question, and when it is the turn of the second candidate, he has 1 minute to respond to the same question. And we have the same set of questions for all the candidates, and that is the way this debate has been arranged. So this question goes to Senator Nwachukwu of the NDP, after which Dr. Tunji Braithwaite will also respond to the question. There have been loud calls for a confederate Nigeria, and this is arising from the fact that there have been complaints of marginalization from different sections and different parts of the country. Do you believe in a confederation for Nigeria? Do you think that a confederation would solve the problem of marginalization in Nigeria?
Confederation is not the answer to Nigeria. We were founded on a federation. And I believe our founding fathers were wise enough to do that. What we need in that country is true federalism, to allowing every state to develop at our own pace, and ensuring that you also have true fiscal federalism. I am a strong believer in the unity of this country. We fought for it. Lots of people died for it. We're not about jettisoning that, but for a confederacy, which will lead into probably the disintegration of our country. So I will support, in very strong terms, a true federal system in which the states can do their thing the way they want to do so, supported, of course, by the federal government. And I also want to say here that there is need for us as a people to be tolerant. The difference between you and I, whether you're Yoruba, Kanuri, Kalabari, or Hausa, is not much at all. It's only in our approach to doing things. We're basically Nigerians. Every part of this country, ethnic, both in ethnicity and in religion, are one and the same. There's no religion that says kill your neighbor. There's no ethnic value that says covet your neighbor. It all says build a united country in which we all be one and the same. A federal system would allow for growth, would allow for people flourishing in their ideas and working to ensuring a united country in which every Nigerian will be happy.
Dr. Tunji Braithwaite.
If there be any country in the world whose best interests, economically, politically, and socially, are best served by devolution of power, this is that nation. For the simple reason of our vast diversities. In those diversities, our strength. And that is why I have always said until we devolve power to these zones, at the moment we have 6, we could increase them to 8. For rapid economic and social development, it is that devolution of power that I would bring into fore in this nation. Because as I said, it is so as to transform this big nation with tremendous potentials. Because when you talk about devolution of power, you are giving power to the zones. The center is too large, and I would devolve power to the zones.
Dr. Braithwaite, one contentious area of fiscal federalism is resource control. How far will you want to see, as a president, if you are elected, how far will you want to see each part of the federation retaining the resources that accrue naturally there?
Well, I'm glad you bring that up. We have been consistent that resource control is a sine qua non for the economic development and therefore happiness and life-fulfilling environment for our nation. Let me just quickly demonstrate that in practical terms. We have researched this country. We've been doing that since 1979. And we say, with every sense of responsibility, no part of Nigeria is barren. The lies and the deception that it is that this country can only survive on oil is a total deception. There are many resources in Nigeria, in every part of the zones, that each zone and the country as a whole could not only survive, but develop every citizen of this country in a kind of trickle-down economy. I would turn Nigeria within 2 years into a major agro-industrial and manufacturing nation. There is coffee, rich coffee in Mambilo Mountain. There is rich husbandry, dairy in Benue Plateau, from which I will earn 1 billion naira per day, 7 billion naira per week, 30 billion naira per month at an affordable price. We are supposed to be 120 million people. I would produce milk in this country and distribute it at 10 naira, rich, nourishing, protein-rich milk, fresh milk, to every part of this country.
My question is, will you allow resource control? Will you, for example, say all the oil from the oil producing area should be retained in that zone, which you say should be a constituent unit?
That is why I'm answering your questions by specific demonstration of issues. That is why I am saying that leave the oil for a moment, because it's oil that has been causing all manner of problems in this country, including the worst corruption ever. It's oil. And I am saying that under our program, not that oil will be devalued, Nigerians will have other assets, other natural resources that would earn just as much, if not more. And I was just demonstrating it by one zone alone. There are other zones. So resource control, as I said to you earlier, is a sine qua non to a rapid transformation of this country. Without resource control, you have a big federal government taking all the money and then doling out 13%. Under our government, for instance, I will not be concerned about revenue allocation, all that neo-colonialist system that had held this country back. I would abandon that. These zones will have enough resources by which to carry out their development. Education, health, Everything.
Senator Nwachukwu, resource control.
On resource control, I believe those who are talking about resource control are not saying, in effect, that they want to take everything. They're saying if you're taking things from my land, then it behoves you to return some to me. So if we could do that to those who are talking about resource control, be fair and be just to them, then we'll begin to have some love and sanity in our polity. But so I would go for supporting resource control, but only to the extent that our founding fathers had done so. Initially, we'll pay the 13% revenue allocation as set out, but we'll debate how to go on to about 50%, because our founding fathers were wise enough to say, when this country was being put together, that we could have 50% of our resource and the rest goes to the federal government. All I'm saying in effect is this, that we need to support each other to grow this country. And the other example about herding, I will come to it when I'm asked the next question. Thank you.
Senator Nwachukwu, the Senate to which you belong recently generated a lot of controversy by amending the anti-graft law. How do you think that this country can be corruption-free after this amendment?
I will attack corruption head-on, because I believe that corruption is the main bane of the development of our country. But in doing so, I must also look at why Nigerians are corrupt. If you employed me, for instance, or you, for instance, and you stayed under the job for 30, 35 years, at the end of your service, there's nothing you're going back to. No home, nothing. You can't even pay your kids' school fees. Then it behoves on the system to find ways to look after you. So I'm going to begin to address the terms and conditions of service in all the various government establishments and encourage the private sector to do the same, but so that whoever is employed in a job knows that at the end of the day, he or she is getting well paid, and he or she is going back home on retirement to something he or she has worked for over the years. Now, having put all of those in place, but then, of course, there must be accountability in government. Then whoever is caught doing anything untoward will be dealt with decisively by the laws of the land. I am totally against corruption, but I also understand that the reasons why Nigerians are corrupt because the system allows them to do so. And we will deal with that system, straighten it out, so that any worker who starts work today knows that in 35 years when he or she is gone from work, the system can look after him or her. I don't want a situation where people are dying waiting to collect their pensions. 2 or 3 days ago, somebody hung himself out here waiting to collect pension. That is a bad testimony to this government.
Sorry, can I ask if you supported the recent Senate bill on amending the ICPC anti-corruption law?
To the extent that the powers were taken away from the president in appointing who the chairman of the committee would be, or commission, and the secretary, because it's been found that commission has been used to selectively deal with people that are opposed to the policies of this government.
Dr. Olatunji Braithwaite, how do you intend to make Nigeria a corrupt-free country? And the amendments to the anti-corruption law recently passed by the Senate, how do you see this?
I'm only responding to the senator's position, isn't that right? Or is it a 3-minute question to me because I'd like to get this right? I thought that was his question and I'm to respond. For 3 minutes.
Go ahead, we'll give you 2 minutes because you were supposed to respond for 1 minute.
Oh, all right. Okay. Now, to talk about corruption in this country is now a waste of time. corruption is at the bottom of all the ills. Nigeria, sadly, regrettably, is rated by Transparency International as the most corrupt nation in the world. I'm ashamed of that, terribly ashamed. I would be ashamed to be a senator or even House of Representative member or even a minister in a country described as the worst, as the most corrupt nation in the world. Alongside, in spite of the wealth of this country is also described by World Bank as one of the, I think we are at the second to the last of the bottom of the ladder as the poorest country. That's what corruption has done. And yet, it seems that successive governments have been totally unable to deal with corruption. Corruption will receive priority attention from my government. We have been saying this all the time, that we will wipe out the mosquitoes and the rats that suck the national wealth, that depress the initiatives of the youths of this country, that make Nigeria become fugitives, exile, that has brought brain drain to us. So, question of corruption in my government will receive priority alongside this question of resource control. Because as my friend, as the senator said, he said corruption is due to the system. That's exactly what we've been talking. The system in which successive governments have been operating is not only corrupt, it is corruption-fueled. And I will attack that.
Okay, Dr. Olatunji Braithwaite, alongside corruption, unemployment is gradually becoming a way of life in Nigeria. Now, if you do become president, if you are elected president on April 19 this year, when the elections are due to hold, what plans do you and your party have to reduce unemployment and give the Nigerian worker a decent wage?
Mr. Gentleman, this was why I said our main philosophy would be devolution of power coupled with the socialist reconstruction of our economy. Under that economic policy, we will wipe out employment in one fell swoop. There will be so much to be done. You know, I was saying last time that I could earn 30 billion naira a month. And I should now explain that. It is all employment mopping up. Because I will use our animals, cross-fertilize them, and as I said, I will distribute it to every part of this country. And I've just taken 100 million population, 100 million. We are supposed to have 120 million. But I have discounted 20 million, and I've taken 100 million. Go and ask Nestle, go and ask Cadbury's how much they spend on importing powder. The country has been turned into a trading company. And we turn the country into a manufacturing, agro-industrial nation that will mop up all hands on work. All hands must have to be focused on it. I would have to be importing labor from the sub-region under that policy of devolution of power and socialist economic of the economy. All zones will be fully engaged for productive, money-generating activities all over the place. That's my blueprint for taking care of employment when, by the grace of God, I become president.
Senator Nwachukwu, your blueprint for reducing unemployment and giving the Nigerian worker a decent wage.
Job creation would be another prop upon which my government would run. We would invest and make funds available to the manufacturing industry. Not only by just saying so, but making the funds available at a reduced interest rate. We would fuel agriculture by 20% of the GDP, where we'll give tax incentives to manufacturing industries. We will also embark on open apprenticeship schemes to allow young men and women who have no skills at all to get some. We'll embark on public works, whereupon we will be building new highways and new bridges and culverts and keeping our young men and women busy. We will build new roads, like I said. In doing all of this, we need to have people who are committed through their determination to make Nigeria a better place. And we will pay wages that are appropriate to the Nigerian workers.
I just want to follow up on Dr. Braithwaite's socialist reconstruction of the Nigerian economy. Are you talking about government now coming back to owning companies, to running the economy, unlike the present trend towards the private sector?
Good question, and thank you very much. No, I said as is going to be the social democratic system. It's not a Marxist, Leninist socialism. And if you watch the trend in Europe, they are gradually moving away from capitalist economy into the social liberal economy. I hope I have explained that to you, that I would allow initiative to flourish. I would allow our graduates, artisans, to make it that the sky will be the limit for them. Because I want to motivate the youth. I want to sensitize them. I want to say, here, your zone, there are enough there. Go and use your initiative. Government will create that environment that will stimulate the initiative of our young people to produce and even export Nigeria's production. Apart from the food basket. You know, the other day someone was saying that at the congruence of River Niger and also River Benue, that there is enough fish that could be harvested there to feed not only Nigeria, to feed all the ECOWAS country. And look at people in that area. Unemployment has consumed their life. There are no hospitals because there are nothing. There isn't anything worthwhile because there is no money to be thrown into developmental projects. Developmental projects in turn generate employment. In turn challenges the intellectual power of the youth. All these have never been placed at their disposal by wrong and unimaginative government policies. They've never been. No nation can develop trading, just importing what it consumes. You have to produce. You have to feed your domestic population. Then you have to sell and earn foreign exchange, which in turn again will bring down the high rate of local currency. All these have never been seriously addressed by any government. And this is what we have been publishing that we will do, we will introduce, to the extent that men and women will have pride of their employment. Instead of doling and going to carry bags behind some non-entity big man for a dole. They will work. They will have self-fulfilling employment and earn money and live decently and educate their children to the highest level. There will be no more brain drain. I will bring Nigerian brains back to this country and use them.
Senator Nwachukwu, let me rephrase that question that was asked by Kabiru Yusuf, which has to do with whether or not the current privatization process will enjoy the support of your presidency. If it is not, or if it will, whether or not there will be any form of modifications that your presidency will likely introduce into the privatization process.
I'm a strong believer in the private sector driving this economy because government has tried several times and failed. All government can do really is to provide incentives, make it easy for whoever wants to go into business to do so. And we will say, like I said earlier, set up a mega fund that would support industry in our country. The private sector must lead this economy, and therefore we must privatize. There are too many government institutions that need to be privatized. Take the Ajakuta steel industry. We wasted lots and lots of money there. We need to stop that. We need to begin to rebuild that by allowing the private sector to do so. I will sectionalize the country into development sectors and allow particular industries, maybe 142 or 150 across the land, and target them as growth points for Nigeria and use them to develop our country, but support this with a lot of funding, but must not be run by government, but support the private sector in doing so. And of course the question about job creation. We need to export in order to create jobs for our people. Unless we're exporting and earning more foreign currency, stabilize the naira, reduce the interest rate, then we cannot create jobs in our country, meaningful jobs to help our kids. We would, in my government that I will run, God willing, by support of our people, invest 20% again in education, because you need to give quality to Nigerian humankind in order to expect the best from them. Yes, you would say we're turning out university graduates by the day, yet those graduates are not well groomed. We need to rechannel them, give them better education to be more productive. And when the economy is running well, all our people who were abroad, who we could invite back to help us run this country would do so. And Nigeria will begin to be respected outside this country. If you are a beggar nation, going begging everybody to forgive your debt, no one will respect you internationally. And therefore, we want to build a country, the economy is strong, create jobs for our team and millions of people, give our women, empower our women, give our industries the vibe they're required to develop, cut down on the laws that diminishes the growth pattern of Nigerians, allow the Nigerian kind to flourish. Then you have a country. You have a country, the economy is strong. You have a country, the security will be good. A country that will create jobs for the timid millions. A country that respects her womanhood. A country that respects her girl child. And a country that would, under no circumstances, lose faith in herself and therefore in the Community of Nations.
Gentlemen, I don't know who among you will first take on this question. Some people say Nigeria is a secular state. Others say no, it is a multi-religious state. What is your stand or policy about religion in our public affairs? Do you think there is too much of it? Or is this something you are comfortable with the way it is now?
Well, actually, the ideal thing on which the Constitution contemplates is that the nation should be secular. That there should be no state religion and all that. As I said, that's the ideal thing, and that's what I will support. But the peculiar circumstances in which the country finds itself, I want to say that they have not been brought about by religion. No. They have been brought about by some politicians, well, not necessarily politicians, some people who are in a position of leadership, who have always resorted to such primordial based sentiments to garner support for their political ambition. So the problem is not with our people. It's the kind of wrong leadership that has always utilized, in the absence of constructive ideas, they resort to such base primordial things and set people against themselves for political ambition. That is most reprehensible. But what I cannot understand is that there are laws on our statute books to deal with this situation, but the government seems helpless. That's what I cannot understand. And that is a very dangerous situation, again, coming to the area of rule of law. You know, for instance, you asked last time about this, anti-graft law. Anti-graft law, yes, it had been passed, but there are laws, antedating anti-graft laws, to deal with corruption, official corruption. There have always been these laws. So, proliferation of laws to create the impression that you are addressing this problem is but exploiting the ignorance of the masses. This situation is a problem of law and order and enforcement of law and order. Going back to this religious strife, it has always been a matter of great concern for me to see people goaded to the point of shedding blood on religion. As I said, the religions themselves do not encourage this thing. No religion, as far as I could ascertain, would encourage someone to go and kill another person. But of course, selfish, unimaginative, evil office seekers would resort to this thing. That I would deal with that. First thing. It's among the things that we will have to deal with.
Senator Nwachukwu.
I am born into a family in which my father is a devout Christian, my mother is a devout Muslim. I grew up understanding that there's no difference between the two religions. It's all a question of respect, respecting one another's sensibilities. We need in this country to understand that no religion supports killing one another because you don't believe in the way of worship of the other person. Therefore, all those clerics and mullahs who preach those things are preaching against the tenets of God Almighty himself. And they themselves are sinners and will be dealt with, I believe, by God himself for preaching religious intolerance and allow people to shed blood and kill themselves because of religion. All religion says, love thy neighbor as thyself. And I will, as president of this country, be strong on that. I'm going to call in all our religious leaders, all their leaders, and speak with them on a regular basis to making them understand that they have a responsibility for the stability of Nigeria and the responsibility to be good shepherds of their followers. On the question of whether we are a secular state or a multi-religious state, the Constitution that we have states clearly, the founding fathers said to us, this country will be a secular state. There shall be no state religion. I support that. But I also support that people should follow their religion the best way they know how. You should be free to practice your religion, be you a Muslim or a Christian or a non-believer, the way you feel it is right to do. But don't use it to kill or destroy society.
Senator Nwachukwu, during your tenure as Nigeria's foreign minister, Nigeria made spirited efforts to get an African country admitted into the Security Council of the United Nations. Up till now, that attempt had not yielded any result. When you become the president of Nigeria, what additional measures or steps will you take to achieve that goal?
I am glad you asked this question. I am proud to tell you that I was the foreign minister that stood on the podium of the United Nations General Assembly and called for the democratization of the permanent membership of the Security Council. And my president then, Babangida, came and spoke on the same subject and said that the new world order must be collectively defined, collectively defended, and collectively designed. All of this is staying in effect. that unless you have a situation in the world where you have the black people sitting as permanent members of the Security Council and Asians doing the same thing, you cannot truly say you are forging democracy the way the Western world talks about it, the way we have all imbibed it. Unless you democratize the membership or the permanent membership of the Security Council, you will never have true democracy worldwide. What would I do? As president, I would intensify that effort. I would talk about it in every opportunity I have, at every opportunity I have, to ensure that the world understands that you cannot have a world in which only Caucasians, with due respect to them, I'm not being racist, decide what the world would be. You must have the Asians in it, you must have Africans in it to have a true balance of a good world order.
Dr. Tunji Braithwaite, your response to that question as to whether or not your presidency would indeed pursue Nigeria's membership of the Security Council, permanent membership of the Security Council of the United Nations.
Well, obviously, yes. That's the short answer for that I would vigorously pursue what, in my own judgment, we're entitled to it, because by the time that we had been in government for about 2 years, the democratic strides that would have been undertaken by this nation, the social and economic well-being of our people would convince the international community to accord us our rightful place. The last questioner was asking my friend, Senator here, that he tried to get Nigeria into a permanent position. The reason why Nigeria did not get it should be obvious. It was not a democratic country. It was a country that was not certified by the United States. So what's anybody saying? It was not a democratic country. They know what's going on. But under my presidency, we would get that on a platter of gold because we would have earned it.
Right, Dr. Tunji Braithwaite, what new initiatives would you propose for the strengthening of the structures of the Commonwealth that is called Nigeria, so as to give quick and meaningful response to crisis situations? We have had a number of crises on our hands, but on each occasion, there haven't been quick and meaningful response to these situations. What would be your proposals on strengthening these structures, whether they exist now or that will be created by you to give quick and meaningful response to crisis situations in Nigeria?
First and foremost, thank you very much. First and foremost, the issue is one of rule of law, pure and simple. Even terrorism, international terrorism, is all a matter of enforcement of law. And I'm glad you said that there are so many crises in this country. And it seems that the government is lost in the manner of resolving it. We have problems in Plateau, in Kaduna, in the Southwest, in Lagos, everywhere. Brothers and sisters, people of the same nation turn on themselves. You have all manner of militias, private militias, ethnic militias. Where are the laws? You have ethnic militias all over the place. Where are the laws? What are the police doing? So as I said earlier, it's a matter of leadership and the courage to tackle problems selflessly. For us, it will not be difficult at all. It is made difficult because of the type of leadership we have. That's all. Are there not enough people in this country that could sit together and give of their best to bring peace, harmony, and development in this nation. Africans, Nigerians generally, are basically peaceful, friendly people. I had said that earlier. Our friendliness is legendary. But when you have leaders who would exploit, who would set them on themselves, then the situation gets very difficult to arrest. It will be difficult to arrest by those who are responsible for these causes.
Senator Nwachukwu.
My basic understanding of why crisis in the country is that lots of our people are hungry. And no food on the table, no jobs, no job security. People are all complaining. Now, if you can get the economy working properly, you manufacture, you export, you make the naira strong, you provide jobs for people, you give people security that they should have when they are retiring from their various jobs. You, of course, stand strong on using the rule of law, ensuring that under no circumstances would our police, for instance, be used inordinately to deal with people who you disagree with. Then you begin to have a semblance of better understanding. I will forge better understanding amongst our people. Don't forget, I'm Igbo, I am Hausa Fulani, I am Yoruba, I have all this makeup. So I will use all of those to ensure that there is fairness, equity, and justice in our country. And our people are fed and fed properly so they don't go fighting themselves.
Senator Nwachukwu, you moved from the People's Democratic Party to the Nigerian Democratic, the NDP, in the process securing the presidential ticket of this party. People will say this sort of movement, of course you are not the only one, many other politicians move from one party to the other, clearly to get the ticket. Are you motivated to run for president purely on a personal quest, irrespective of which party, in fact, that offers you that kind of platform?
I decided to run for the office of president because since 1999, this country hadn't been worse off economically than we've been. From 1999, the level of insecurity has been so poor that a few days ago, Harry Marshall was shot dead. Not so long ago, Bola Ige, Attorney General of the Federation, was killed in his house. And a young senatorial candidate, Uche, was shot dead the other day in Imo State. All of these things drive care into anybody's mind. Then, of course, there are no jobs for our children. Our women are not empowered. The youth are not being educated. Universities are shut down. Teachers are not paid salaries. The civil servants' morale is fallen to her lowest ebb. The military people, the police are not well looked after. The entire populace is in total despair. So I thought that if I have the kind of experience I have, being a governor, former Minister of Employment, Labor and Productivity, former Minister of Foreign Affairs, former military general, a former journalist, and above all, a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I cannot therefore sit back and allow our country to be going down the drain. Somebody must step out to fight for these helpless Nigerians, youth of our country who are dying of hunger, youth of our country who have been led into doing things untoward because there are no jobs, universities that are shut down, teachers who say we want to be properly funded to be able to teach in schools, and nothing is happening. Instead, you're hearing money's being packed and spent on buildings, stadium, that doesn't add any value to this country. I want to change that. I want to stand up and fight for the Nigerian people. It's not for ego. If it's for ego, I don't have to run for the office of president. The country has given me an opportunity before. And I'm saying, give me another one to right in all of his wrongs, to try the best we can to put our country on a platform that we Nigerians will have faith once again in our country, the average Nigerian has lost faith in Nigeria. We need to rebuild faith. A country that does not give you security, cannot feed you, cannot allow your children to go to school, they cannot pay you salaries, they cannot provide you the adequate wherewithal to flourish, you definitely will have no faith in. And our founding fathers said to us, unity, faith, peace, and progress. That faith is what I want to reinstall in Nigerians, and that's why I stepped out to run for the office of President of the Federal Republic, and I pray God that Nigerians will give me the opportunity to show that this can be done and done properly.
Dr. Tunji Braithwaite, let me put the question differently. You have been in the quest for the presidency of Nigeria since 1979, or 78, when your party, NAP, came onto the scene. Now, is this quest out of a vaulting ambition to occupy the office of the president, or is it out of a genuine conviction that indeed you can make changes in the system?
You certainly have, have put it in a very different form. Let me take care of myself first. It should be obvious to any average person that when a man has been pursuing certain goal, public goal, and all manner of obstacles have been placed before him. And alongside those obstacles, there have been inducements for the man to abandon that crusade. Surely, the expression wanting ambition is inappropriate by any objective standard. So that's why I said, let me take care of myself. The other day on a program, I think your program, someone was saying to me that, Dr. Braithwaite, you have been suffering. Why don't you step down your principal stand and join them so that you can reduce your sufferings? That's my answer. I'm not motivated by any ambition. I'm moved by crusading for the well-being of Nigeria, and I stand to be judged on that. That's my record.
Well, Nigeria's economic climate has not been favorable to international, external and internal investments. If you win the presidency, how would you boost international investments in Nigeria?
I like the way when you put your question to me and we're on the camera, you use if. When you put to my honorable senator, you use when. You've already answered your question there. I will win the presidency by the vote of the oppressed people of this country. What's your question again, if I may ask?
How you are going to boost international investments in Nigeria?
Yes.
When you pick up the ticket, or I mean when you win the presidency.
I can't hear you properly. Can you please?
How will your presidency boost international investment in Nigeria?
How would my presidency boost international investment
in Nigeria?
Again, it's so self-evident. By transparency, by personnel who have imagination, who are honest, and by my devolution of power economic policy, instead of the present hodgepodge free enterprise by which few men control and dominate the wealth of this country, which had kept out international investment. In our case, international investment will be a natural flow into Nigeria because of our program.
Senator Nwachukwu?
It's well known to every Nigerian and discerning observer that there's insecurity in our country. There's high level of corruption. The industries are not well funded. And the tax regimes are so high. I would deal decisively with insecurity. I'll provide jobs for our people. I will deal decisively with corruption. We will be transparent. It's a question of leadership. If you as the leader is corrupt, there's no how you can turn around and deal with anybody who is corrupt. Today, it's reported that this government has pulled us to the rock bottom of a list of corrupt nations. We were better off in 1999 than we are in 2003. That must be dealt with decisively. Then, of course, the question of infrastructure. We will put them in place, but so that whoever wants to invest in our country will find it easier to invest in our country. NEPA will be decentralized completely. And so we would also provide roads and make it possible for anyone who feels happy to be here to do so and invest.
Thank you very much, Senator Nwachukwu. We have come to a stage at this debate where we will ask each of the candidates to give us a summary of their reasons for the quest for the presidency in just 2 minutes each. We'll start with Senator Nwachukwu.
Well, I thought I said the first time.
We want you to, in summary, tell us.
Only pulling your legs. Now, of course, this is a very serious affair. I decided to run for the office of president of this country because we needed to turn this country around. The economy is bad. Insecurity is high. The youths are not being employed. Teachers are not being paid their salaries. Schools are shut down, most of the time. Agriculture, we can't feed ourselves. Manufacturing industry is limping on. Today, we need to do something drastic, and that is to fund our industries so that they can provide us jobs, to export so that Nigeria can live, to give Nigerians faith in herself, to ensure that all those who are religious beggars are told to please set aside so we can move our country forward, or ask them to be better Christians and better Muslims, or better non-believers, so we can forge a united, good country in which every Nigerian, man, woman, young and old, rich or poor, will feel proud. And to pull our people, those of them who today can pay tax because they have no jobs at all, to bring them to the level where they can have jobs, they can pay tax, so with tax we can develop our country for the betterment of every Nigerian. And I pray God that that day will come on May 29 when Nigerians will install me the president of this country so that we can begin to do what we are talking about. It's not only talking about it, but doing so. We have the House, and we've talked about them, and it's now to be given the opportunity to lead our country under God.
Thank you very much, Senator Nwachukwu. 2 minutes, Dr. Olatunji Braithwaite, closing remarks.
For me, it's not a question of deciding to run for the presidency. The same as my opening statement, so is my closing remark. I have been fighting evils that have brought anguish, retardation, suffering, deaths to the people of this country since 1978. And because the situation on the ground in Nigeria, year in, year out, gets worse, deteriorates further. That in itself has only gone to vindicate my selfless, altruistic crusade for the people of this country. If Nigeria had been what we expected what we have been working for, I will not subject myself to all these difficulties. Or don't any of you realize that for us, out of the government, to compete with them, it is a very difficult thing. The other day, did you not read how PDP, the ruling government, collected 2 billion naira at one dinner? I mean, 2 point something. Who are the people giving them that? So the country is getting bad, is getting worse. The other day, President Shagari said he feared for this country in the next elections. 3 days ago, I got a threat letter from some occultic body, now called, from some. I've been addressing the press in Lagos today. I had to rush from Lagos to this Abuja at my expense. As I said, I got a threat saying that unless I step down my presidential quest for the benefit of this country, that something would happen. And the threat contains the name of the favored candidate before elections. Of course, I dismiss it. We are not going to be intimidated or be lured in our service for the fatherland.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tunji Braithwaite. Well, we have had a very wonderful time here with 2 of Nigeria's 20 presidential candidates. Senator Nwachukwu of the National Democratic Party, we thank you so much for coming on the program. And Dr. Olatunji Braithwaite of the Nigeria Advanced Party, NAB, for coming on the program. But I also like to thank the panelists, Kabiru Yusuf of Daily Trust Newspapers, and Reginald Okochi of Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria. And our timekeeper has been Edebo Obiakoba. Thank you very much. And that is how we'll draw the curtain on this 4th session of the Presidential Debates 2003. Shortly, we'll be bringing you the next session.
Thank you. Well done.